What if I told you there's a creature that runs so fast it looks like it's flying across the desert sand, hunts with jaws that can crush through beetle shells in a single bite, and has been called everything from a camel spider to a wind scorpion, even though it's neither a spider nor a scorpion? This is the story of one of the most misunderstood predators on Earth, and what scientists discovered about them in 2025 might completely change how you see the desert ecosystem. You hatch from an egg buried deep in the Sonoran Desert, one of more than 50 siblings packed into a single underground burrow. The temperature outside reaches 48 degrees Celsius, but down here in the darkness, it's just cool enough to survive. Your mother stands over the clutch for a moment, her massive chelicerae, those jaw-like appendages, still and watchful. But the second you push through your eggshell, something in her biology switches off. She turns without hesitation and climbs toward the surface, disappearing into the desert above. She'll never return. This might seem cruel, but here's what researchers at the University of Arizona discovered in 2025. Female solifuges, the scientific name for wind scorpions, invest so much energy into producing viable eggs that remaining with offspring would actually decrease their survival chances. It's not abandonment. It's evolutionary efficiency. Your legs are soft and barely functional, so you stay near your broken shell while your exoskeleton begins to harden. Around you, siblings start emerging one by one, each one immediately moving away from the others. There's no family bond here, no cooperation. From the moment you hatch, you're competitors. Within 72 hours, some of your siblings will become food for the others. This is called sibling cannibalism, and it's surprisingly common in species that produce large clutches with limited resources. But here's where it gets interesting. A 2025 study published in the Journal of Arachnology found that solifuge hatchlings who survive this early competition show significantly enhanced hunting skills later in life. The trauma of early survival actually sharpens their predatory instincts. Before we go further, if you're enjoying this deep dive into one of the desert's most fascinating predators, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me which animal you want covered next. Your support helps us bring more incredible animal stories to life. Skip forward 3 days. Your exoskeleton has hardened enough to support your weight, and hunger is starting to override caution. You need to reach the surface, so you begin climbing the burrow wall toward the circle of light above. Your 10 legs, yes, 10, not 8 like spiders, grip the loose desert soil. The front 2 legs are actually modified sensory appendages covered in thousands of tiny hairs called trichobothria. These hairs can detect air currents created by prey moving up to 30 centimeters away. As you climb, one of your siblings scrambles past you, moving faster, more desperately. Then its legs slip. It tumbles backwards, slamming into you with enough force to knock you both to the bottom of the burrow. You land in a tangle of legs and immediately right yourself. There's no time to rest. You start climbing again. This time, you make it. Your head pushes through into open air, and the heat hits you like a physical force. The Sonoran Desert in summer doesn't just feel hot. It actively pulls moisture from your body. Within seconds, you feel your tissues beginning to desiccate. This is the paradox of being a solifuge. You're built for speed, but that speed generates heat, and heat in the desert is deadly. You scramble back down into the burrow and press against the cooler dirt. Most people think desert animals are adapted to handle extreme heat, but here's what they get wrong. Solifuges are actually terrible at regulating body temperature. They're active hunters, which means they generate metabolic heat rapidly. And unlike scorpions or many spiders, they lack the physiological mechanisms to cool down efficiently. So instead, they've evolved behavioral adaptations. They hunt in short, explosive bursts, then retreat to shade. They're ambush sprinters, not endurance runners. You're 3 weeks old now, and you've grown rapidly. You're about 2 centimeters long, and you're fast. Faster than almost anything your size in this ecosystem. Recent high-speed camera footage, captured by researchers in 2025, clocked juvenile solifuges moving at 53 body lengths per second. To put that in perspective, if a human could move that fast relative to body size, we'd be running at nearly 300 kilometers per hour. You leave the burrow in the early evening when the sand has cooled just enough to hunt safely. Near the entrance, a small darkling beetle crosses your path, moving slowly through the open sand. You need to eat, so you sprint. Your legs move so fast they blur together, 8 of them pounding the sand in a rhythm that sounds like rainfall. The beetle doesn't react in time. You close the distance in less than a second, and your massive chelicerae clamp down on its body. These aren't fangs like a spider's. They're more like serrated shears, covered in tiny teeth that can crush through chitin with terrifying efficiency. You cut the beetle in half and begin feeding, using your chelicerae to tear pieces while smaller mouth parts push the meat inward. But then you detect something. Vibrations in the sand beneath you. Something is moving underground, getting closer. A darkling beetle larva, twice the size of your prey, breaks through the surface just centimeters away. It starts moving toward your kill. You grab what's left of the beetle and run. The larva doesn't follow because it's too slow, but you don't stop until you reach the shadow of a large rock. Here's something most people don't know. Solifuges are opportunistic feeders, but they're also incredibly wasteful. They often kill more than they can eat, leaving partially consumed prey scattered across their territory. Scientists used to think this was just inefficient hunting. But a 2025 study revealed something unexpected. Those leftover carcasses attract scavengers, which in turn attract more prey. Solifuges are accidentally creating hunting hotspots by being messy eaters. It's unintentional ecosystem engineering. Skip forward 2 months. You're hunting farther from your burrow now, tracking a cricket moving across open sand. You're closing in, chelicerae opening wide, when something moves from your periphery. A grasshopper mouse, one of the desert's most fearless predators, rushes toward you. Now here's where things get wild. Grasshopper mice are immune to scorpion venom and regularly hunt creatures much larger than themselves. But they're not immune to solifuge bites. They just don't care. You turn and sprint away at full speed. But the mouse is fast too, and it's closing the gap. You spot a crack between rocks and dive inside, wedging yourself deep into the crevice. The mouse sniffs at the entrance but can't reach you. You stay inside for nearly an hour just to be sure. This is the reality of being a mid-level predator. You're simultaneously hunter and prey. And here's what makes solifuges unique in this role. They have no venom, no chemical defense, no warning coloration. Their only defense is speed and the ability to deliver a painful bite. A 2025 comparative study found that solifuges have one of the highest predator-to-prey ratios in desert ecosystems, meaning they're eaten almost as often as they eat. They're not apex predators. They're high-speed survivors in a landscape where everything is trying to kill everything else. You're 6 months old now, and you've claimed a hunting territory around a cluster of rocks that provides shade throughout the day. But today, another solifuge walks into your space. It's about your size, with chelicerae just as large. You need to defend your territory, so you walk toward it with your body raised slightly off the ground. The other solifuge stops and turns to face you. Then you both rear up on your back legs, chelicerae lifted high in the air. This is called stotting, a threat display meant to make you look larger and more dangerous. You're both trying to intimidate the other into leaving without fighting. But neither of you backs down. You drop and rush forward, clashing together with your chelicerae locking against each other. You push hard, trying to throw the other solifuge off balance, but it pushes back just as hard. You're locked together, wrestling for position while your legs dig into the sand for grip. Then the other solifuge gets better leverage and throws you sideways. You land hard but flip over instantly and charge back. This time you grab one of its legs before it can react, and your chelicerae cut clean through, severing the leg completely. The other solifuge backs away, then turns and runs. You've won, but here's the fascinating part. That solifuge will likely survive. Research published in early 2025 documented solifuges regenerating lost limbs over successive molts. They can't regrow legs within a single life stage like some arthropods, but if they survive to their next molt, the leg will begin to reform. It won't be perfect, but it'll be functional. Most people have this completely wrong about solifuges. They think these creatures are solitary and territorial by nature. But scientists didn't expect what they found next. In 2025, researchers using infrared cameras discovered that juvenile solifuges sometimes hunt cooperatively when targeting prey too large for individuals to handle alone. It's not true social behavior like you'd see in ants or bees, but it's coordinated action. 2 or 3 juveniles will simultaneously attack a large beetle or grasshopper, overwhelming it before it can escape. This was previously thought impossible for solifuges. It completely changes our understanding of their behavior. At 1 year old, you've reached full size. Your body is about 7 centimeters long, covered in long sensory hairs that pick up vibrations from anything moving nearby. Today, those hairs detect something different. Another solifuge, but this one moves without aggression. It's a female, and she doesn't raise her chelicerae when you approach. You reach out with your chelicerae and touch hers gently. She doesn't pull away, so you know she's receptive. You grab her chelicerae with yours and start pulling her backward across the sand. This is one of the strangest mating rituals in the animal kingdom. You drag her in what looks like a dance, moving her body back and forth across the ground until you find a flat piece of sand. Then you release a spermatophore, a packet of sperm, onto the ground and pull her over it so she can pick it up with her genital opening. The moment she takes it, everything changes. She turns aggressive instantly and tries to grab you with her chelicerae. Female solifuges often attempt to eat males after mating, a behavior called sexual cannibalism. You release her and sprint away at full speed, using every bit of your acceleration to create distance. She chases you for a few seconds, then stops and turns back. Here's what researchers discovered about this behavior in 2025. It's not just about nutrition. Females who successfully consume males after mating produce slightly larger egg clutches, but more importantly, they're signaling to other males that they're no longer receptive. It reduces harassment and allows them to focus energy on egg development. It's brutal, but it's efficient. You'll never see the egg she lays, and the offspring will never know you existed. That's the reality for male solifuges. If you're lucky, you mate once or twice before becoming food. Skip forward 6 months. You're 18 months old, hunting in unfamiliar territory, chasing a moth flying low over the sand. The moth lands, and you sprint toward it, but the ground suddenly gives way beneath you. You start sliding down into a pit you didn't see, a funnel-shaped trap in the sand. You try to climb back up, but the sand keeps collapsing under your legs. Then massive curved jaws emerge from the sand at the bottom. You've fallen into an antlion trap, and the lava starts flicking sand up at you, trying to knock you down closer to its jaws. Your speed isn't helping here because there's nothing solid to push against. Every time you gain a few centimeters, the sand collapses and you slide backward. The antlion keeps flicking sand, and you keep sliding closer to its jaws. But you don't stop moving. You push harder, spreading your legs wider to distribute your weight, and you start making progress. Your front legs reach the edge of the pit and grab solid ground. You pull yourself over the rim and out of the trap. The antlion's jaws snap shut just behind you, but you're already clear. Here's what makes this escape remarkable. A 2025 biomechanics study found that solifuges can adjust their leg coordination patterns in real time based on substrate stability. On solid ground, they use a specific gait pattern optimized for speed. On loose sand, they automatically switch to a wider, more stable pattern that distributes weight more evenly. It's not a conscious decision. It's hardwired into their nervous system, an evolutionary adaptation to navigating unpredictable terrain. That automatic switch is what saved your life. You're nearly 2 years old now, and you've just caught a large beetle. You're feeding in open sand when a shadow falls over you, blocking the sun. You look up. A zebra-tailed lizard drops from a rock above and lands just centimeters away. You abandon your prey and run. The lizard is fast, tongue flicking out to track you, closing the distance with every step. You make a sharp turn at full speed, using your wide leg span to pivot quickly, and the lizard overshoots. It has to stop and adjust its trajectory, and in that split second, you gain just enough distance to reach a cluster of rocks. You dive into a crevice too narrow for the lizard to follow. But here's where the story gets even stranger. That zebra-tailed lizard, it's one of your primary predators, but recent research shows that solifuges and zebra-tailed lizards have been locked in an evolutionary arms race for millions of years. As solifuges got faster, lizards developed better acceleration. As lizards got better at turning, solifuges evolved wider leg spans for sharper pivots. It's called coevolution, and it's shaped both species into the incredibly fast predators they are today. Neither one has won. They're just constantly adapting to each other. You survive that encounter, but winter is coming, and with it, a new challenge. As temperatures drop below 15 degrees Celsius, your metabolism slows dramatically. You can't hunt effectively in the cold, so you retreat deep into your burrow and enter a state called diapause, a kind of suspended animation where your body functions slow to a crawl. You'll stay like this for 3 months, surviving on stored fat reserves, barely moving, barely breathing. Most people think desert animals only struggle with heat, but cold is just as deadly. The Sonoran Desert can drop to near freezing on winter nights, and for a creature built for explosive speed, cold means death. Diapause is your only option. When spring arrives and temperatures rise, you emerge from your burrow thinner, weaker, but alive. You're now 2 years old, which is ancient for a solifuge. Most die within their first year, eaten by predators or killed by temperature extremes. But you've survived, and that survival has made you something rare. An experienced hunter in an ecosystem where experience usually doesn't last long enough to matter. Here's something scientists only confirmed in 2025. Solifuges can learn and remember hunting routes. Using GPS trackers smaller than a grain of rice, researchers mapped the movements of adult solifuges over several weeks and found they returned to the same hunting spots repeatedly, following nearly identical paths each time. They're not just wandering randomly. They're patrolling territories, checking locations where prey is likely to appear. This requires spatial memory, something previously thought to be beyond the cognitive abilities of most arachnids. It suggests solifuges are far more intelligent than anyone gave them credit for. But intelligence doesn't make you invincible. One evening, you're hunting near the edge of your territory when you detect vibrations, something large moving through the sand. You freeze trying to identify the source. Then you see it. A Gila monster, one of only 2 venomous lizards in North America, moving slowly through the rocks. It's not hunting you specifically, it's searching for eggs or small rodents, but if it notices you, you're in trouble. Gila monsters are slow, but their bite is devastating, delivering venom through grooved teeth that cause excruciating pain and tissue damage. You stay perfectly still, relying on your camouflage. Your tan exoskeleton blends almost perfectly with the desert sand. The Gila monster passes within half a meter of you, tongue flicking, tasting the air. But it doesn't turn. It continues past and disappears into the rocks. You wait 5 full minutes before moving again. This is survival in the desert. It's not always about speed or strength. Sometimes it's about knowing when not to move at all. As summer returns, temperatures soar again, and you face the same challenge you've faced your entire life, balancing the need to hunt with the need to avoid overheating. But here's what makes your species so remarkable. Despite all these challenges, despite being hunted by birds, lizards, rodents, and even other solifuges, despite having no venom, no protective armor, no chemical defenses, solifuges have survived for over 300 million years. They've outlived the dinosaurs. They've survived multiple mass extinction events. They've adapted to deserts, grasslands, and scrublands on every continent except Antarctica and Australia. And here's the conservation news that matters. In 2025, the International Union for Conservation of Nature completed the first comprehensive assessment of solifuge populations worldwide. The results were surprising. While habitat loss is impacting some species, particularly in areas of rapid urban development, most solifuge populations remain stable. They're resilient, adaptable, and incredibly good at surviving in marginal habitats where other predators struggle. But that doesn't mean they're safe. Climate change is shifting temperature patterns in ways that could push some species beyond their thermal tolerance limits. Desert ecosystems are becoming more extreme, with hotter highs and colder lows, and solifuges are already living at the edge of what their biology can handle. There's also the human factor. Solifuges are widely feared and misunderstood. They're called camel spiders because of a myth that they chase camels to hide in their shadows, which isn't true. They're called wind scorpions because they seem to move as fast as the wind, which is closer to accurate. But they're neither spiders nor scorpions. They're solifuges, a distinct order of arachnids with their own unique biology. And the fear surrounding them leads to unnecessary killing. People see these creatures and panic, crushing them or spraying them with pesticides, even though solifuges are completely harmless to humans. Yes, they can bite if handled, and yes, it hurts. But they're not venomous. They don't seek out humans, and they play a crucial role in controlling insect populations in desert ecosystems. Education is the key to conservation. The more people understand about solifuges, the less they fear them, and the more likely they are to protect the habitats these creatures depend on. And that's where you come in. By watching videos like this, by learning about the real biology and behavior of misunderstood animals, you're part of the solution. You're helping shift the narrative from fear to fascination. So if you've made it this far, and you're as amazed by these incredible predators as I am, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive. Drop a comment and let me know. What's the most surprising thing you learned about solifuges today? You're now 2.5 years old, which is exceptionally rare for your species. Most solifuges live less than a year, but you've beaten the odds. You've survived predators, temperature extremes, competition, and the constant challenge of finding food in one of the harshest environments on Earth. But your time is running out. Your exoskeleton is showing signs of wear, small cracks and discolorations that won't heal. Your legs don't move quite as fast as they used to. You're still a formidable hunter, but you're slowing down. And in the desert, slow means dead. One final hunt. You're tracking a large cricket near the edge of your territory when you detect vibrations. Another solifuge, younger, faster, moving into your space. You could fight, but you know how that ends now. You've won territorial battles before, but each one takes more out of you. So instead, you retreat. You move to a different section of your territory, farther from the best hunting grounds, closer to the margins. This is how it ends for most solifuges. Not in a dramatic battle, but in a quiet retreat, a gradual fading as younger, stronger individuals push them out. But here's the beautiful part. Even as you fade, you've already contributed to the next generation. Somewhere in the desert, offspring carrying your genes are hatching, hunting, surviving. Your DNA is woven into the future of your species, passed forward through the brutal, beautiful process of natural selection. You were fast enough, strong enough, lucky enough to survive long enough to reproduce. And in evolutionary terms, that's all that matters. That's success. Solifuges don't get monuments or legacies. They don't form families or build communities. They're solitary hunters living fast, violent lives in one of the most unforgiving environments on Earth. But they're survivors. They're evolutionary masterpieces, fine-tuned over hundreds of millions of years to do one thing exceptionally well: hunt. And in doing so, they play an irreplaceable role in their ecosystems, controlling insect populations, serving as prey for larger predators, and contributing to the complex web of life that makes deserts so much more than just empty sand. The next time you hear someone call them camel spiders or scream about how terrifying they are, you'll know the truth. They're not monsters. They're not demons. They're solifuges, ancient, incredible, misunderstood predators that deserve our respect, our fascination, and our protection. Because the desert wouldn't be the same without them, and neither would our planet.